Chinese are leaving Australia. Could this be the beginning of an international student crash? Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article from news.com.au. So Chinese lead Australian departures according to the latest ABS travel figures. Chinese citizens led the way when it came to leaving Australia in December, and this could be why. Well, we'll have to see why they're suggesting, but the implications of this, well, frankly, are going to be felt in our university sector. I would bet there's going to be a decline in international students moving forward. There's even talk of no international travel into Australia this entire year. What's that going to do for, well, the tourism sector is going to cop it. What's it going to do for the airline sector, for all the pilots? We've got a few in the comments that have just been screwed over. You know, what's it going to do for university education? A lot of our universities are highly dependent now on this cash cow that is international students. And I feel sorry for all the international students I went with. A lot of them were not getting value for money back in my day. And frankly, I bet you it'll become even worse now. Let me just fix up my collar here. So let's have a look at this article, everyone. Chinese citizens lead the way when it came to departures from Australia in December, latest figures show. The ABS figures released on Monday reveal almost a quarter of all overseas departures from Australia last month, with those leaving on temporary student visas, 24.1%. There you go. Remember, we were reading earlier in the year about the lecturers that were losing their jobs in Tasmania because they were reducing the number of courses they were offering, subjects. And some of them that invested all of their money into student accommodation. So they were earning money dependent on students, and they diversified by going into property, but the property sector was also dependent on the same market. I can see how they'd think, oh yeah, I'm diversifying, I'm getting multiple income streams, but really you're just, in the same vertical integration, the vertical stack. You've got to step out a little bit further and really diversify, which can be hard because we're also property obsessed here in Australia. Almost a fifth of all departures, 18.7%, were Chinese citizens, 9,300, up 2.1% compared with the previous month, followed by Indians at 5,400. So our international students are, well, they're leaving. You can't blame them. I'm concerned is the continued rise of the Australian dollar. We're not going to be the poor man's United States anymore with regards to international students. If you can go to the US and go to a much more prestigious university than one here in Australia, that's probably going to carry more weight. A lot about it is, well, it's about the reputation of the organization you go to. That sells as well. University of Sydney global migration expert, Associate Professor Anne Butcher, says the figures are unsurprising given Chinese and Indian students make up Australia's biggest international student cohort. She said people's visas could be expiring or they may be leaving over concerns about staying on during the pandemic. Not all temporary migrants will transition onto permanent residency or other visas, and in fact may leave, she said. They may have been going home anyway, or they may be worried about the future visa opportunities onshore. Associate Professor Butcher says some international students may be worried they won't be able to see family due to the restrictions, so they're taking a risk to complete their degree offshore and taking advantage of the Australian government's flexibility in enabling them to do so. I know, for instance, international students from China would often go home throughout the academic year, but obviously the pandemic has been a real interrupter for people who are highly mobile, she said. It's not such a long flight from Australia to China, and maybe some of them have made the decision they'd prefer to be home to finish their degree there than if they still have the connection to Australia to apply for visa status subsequently. Over the space of last year, a lot of people of migrant background in Australia are becoming increasingly alarmed at how long they're away from family. That does make an impact. And honestly, I feel like our education system is kind of tricking a lot of these migrants that are coming over here. Come study this high-end degree in an economy which doesn't have the complexity to provide you the opportunities to do that. I've met people before that have come over here, paid a fortune to study in Australia, and then wound up just doing an IKEA job. I remember one architecture student, it's kind of a bit different. She was forced, encouraged, pushed, pressured by the parents to study architecture, and she ended up becoming a pastry chef. She's a bloody good pastry chef. There's probably better money in it too. You could start your own business as well. Everyone likes sweets. Citizens from New Zealand, UK and US were next on the departures list from Australia in December, excluding Australians. Departures were almost up 10% from the previous month. Of the estimated 49,900 departures from Australia, 12,100 of these were Australian citizens. So the Aussies fleeing, getting away. Meanwhile, Aussies returned home in December in the biggest number since travel restrictions were introduced in April. There were 17,800 Australian citizens arrivals in December, according to the ABS. The number of overseas arrivals into Australia jumped 18% in December 2020, reaching 35,100. We're continuing to see steady month-on-month increases in arrivals, ABS Director of Migration Statistics, Jenny Dobak said. The increase in December overseas arrivals is consistent with the lifting of travel caps on international arrivals in late 2020, as well as the opening of one-way travel arrangements from New Zealand. In Victoria, the lifting of restrictions led to more than 5,300 overseas arrivals in December, compared with just over 500 in the previous month. Despite the increase to monthly arrivals, overall travel numbers still remain low, with December arrivals down 98% from this time last year, she said. Now that's the real number here. That's what matters. These 30,000, 40,000, it may sound impressive, but not when it's 98% down. So our international students play a big part in the economy, everyone, because they come over here, they rent spaces, they rent either apartments or shared houses, and they spend money. One guy from uni, he had to deck out the whole house. He bought all these retail items here, fridges, freezers, everything. He's complaining about the other guy renting with him, didn't buy anything. So they spend money, and they get work. They can work up to 20 hours a week to help support themselves. And, a lot of them do menial jobs that you got to do, just as part of being a student. Some of them work in architecture. That was the advantage of my course, where you used to be able to work for 4 days in an office and do 1 day at university. And was the best way to learn. Best way to learn English as well in the office environment. But the problem was, it was difficult for some international students to get work, so they ended up phasing that out, really. I think they wanted to charge more for the courses. And then, the impact on the investment grade property sector is going to be felt by this. All the apartments that are bought, all the student accommodation that's been bought, people are buying them, negative gearing them, paying interest only, thinking they're a genius. Now the tap's been turned off. So what do you reckon, everyone? Do you think we'll see a spring back in international students this year, or is this just going to continue? And we'll have to see the ripple effects through the economy. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. Support us using affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone, and I will see you all next time. Bye for now.